Sono Roberto Lovato, sono dirigente dell'Ufficio Partenariato Industriale e Rapporti con le Organizzazioni Internazionali di Agenzia e ho il gradito compito di dare il benvenuto ai partecipanti a questo webinar organizzato insieme ad ANIMA Confindustria Meccanica Varia con l'intento di offrire al settore, alle aziende di questo settore, un'occasione di confronto e approfondimento su come utilizzare meglio le opportunità offerte da organismi appunto come le banche internazionali di sviluppo come utilizzare il procurement di queste strutture che offrono opportunità appunto per beni e servizi nel settore della meccanica varia. Il momento attuale infatti rappresenta un'occasione per esplorare anche questi ambiti che diciamo ultimamente negli ultimi anni erano stati un po' forse abbandonati da molte aziende anche per difficoltà di approccio a questo procurement. Le recenti introduzioni di novità nella possibilità di accedere al procurement rendono questo settore forse più interessante. Ci sono degli elementi di novità che possono contribuire a creare motivi di interesse per le aziende del settore. Questo cosiddetto procurement framework, nuovo procurement framework, ha contribuito a riavvicinare queste organizzazioni a molte imprese. In particolare l'introduzione di riforme che mirano a premiare gli aspetti qualitativi dell'offerta in questi procurement rispetto al prezzo che finora, o almeno negli ultimi tempi, aveva rappresentato un po', come veniva detto nel settore, un po' la dittatura del prezzo più basso, diciamo, essendo venuto a meno questa, diciamo, prerogativa ed essendo stato introdotto una nuova forma di valutazione che tiene conto dell'aspetto qualitativo dell'offerta, sicuramente questo elemento può rappresentare un motivo di interesse per le aziende italiane che puntano proprio sulla qualità della loro offerta per competere a livello internazionale. Quindi abbiamo previsto degli appuntamenti con diverse istituzioni internazionali. Questo è il primo appuntamento, ma ce ne saranno degli altri di cui informeremo puntualmente, ed in particolare con ANIMA e con Asian Development Bank organizzeremo nei prossimi mesi dei successivi seminari, webinar specializzati nei singoli settori diciamo merceologici, quali ad esempio la produzione di energia, l'industria chimica e petrolifera, l'edilizia, le infrastrutture, i trattamenti delle acque, proprio per segmentare anche l'interesse delle aziende associate ad ANIMA e quindi per diciamo mirare meglio quelle che possono essere le opportunità presenti per i singoli settori di interesse. Quindi abbiamo deciso con ANIMA di proseguire questo ciclo anche inteso ad esplorare e ad approfondire queste opportunità e nei prossimi mesi appunto organizzeremo queste ulteriori occasioni di incontro. Ecco, ringrazio tutti della partecipazione e al fine di avere l'opportunità anche di migliorare il servizio che intendiamo offrire tramite questi webinar, vi prego di compilare il modulo di valutazione che vi verrà proposto alla fine del webinar. Passo quindi lo schermo ad Alessandro Durante di Anima per il suo indirizzo di saluto. Ancora grazie a tutti e prego Alessandro.
Grazie, grazie e buongiorno a tutti. ANIMA Confindustria Meccanica Varia ha avuto la possibilità di sviluppare con ICE questo programma di seminari di cui siamo molto felici e che pensiamo siano un importante elemento per tutte quelle aziende della filiera della meccanica che ANIMA rappresenta, per capire un po' meglio di che cosa stiamo parlando quando sentiamo parlare di organismi internazionali, come poter interagire con questi organismi internazionali anche se si è delle piccole e medie imprese, quali caratteristiche sono necessarie per riuscire a far sì che questi canali di iniziative, questi canali di progettualità importanti, possano entrare a far parte della vita quotidiana delle nostre aziende. Dico questo perché chiaramente gli organismi internazionali come l'Asian Development Bank, che qui oggi è rappresentata da Kevin Moore, che ringrazio, sono delle strutture estremamente articolate che hanno degli obiettivi molto ambiziosi, per cui è necessario avere una struttura, un approccio mentale, oltre che una struttura aziendale adeguata e pronta ad affrontare degli impegni non indifferenti. Questo in particolare per una filiera come quella che rappresenta ANIMA, che ricordo è strutturata come federazione di 30 associazioni di categoria nazionali, con 1000 aziende direttamente associate. In Italia rappresenta 49 miliardi di fatturato, di cui il 60% da export. Ecco, questi numeri danno un'idea del potenziale che le aziende italiane hanno in molti settori che sono tra i meno conosciuti quando si pensa alla meccanica, perché i settori che rappresenta ANIMA Confindustria sono essenzialmente legati all'impiantistica e alla componentistica, che si traducono in tutte quelle tecnologie essenziali per realizzare impianti estremamente complicati, estremamente critici. Pensiamo agli impianti di produzione di energia, agli impianti dedicati all'oil and gas, ma anche a tutta l'impiantistica necessaria per il food processing o ancora tutte le tecnologie legate al mondo dell'acqua. Aggiungo che ci sono poi un'altra serie di tecnologie che noi rappresentiamo, che sono tutte quelle tecnologie meccaniche che servono per trasformare un ottimo artigiano in un'ottima industria, quando è necessario mantenere la qualità dei prodotti, la qualità degli alimenti, nel caso del food, la qualità organolettica che deve essere mantenuta dal raccolto fino a casa nostra. Ecco, sono tutti elementi, così come la sicurezza alimentare, sempre parlando di acqua e di food, sono tutti elementi estremamente importanti che valorizzano i nostri produttori e fanno sì che siano apprezzati. Detto questo, però, le aziende che ANIMA rappresenta sono prevalentemente dei suppliers, dei grandi dei general contractor che hanno poi accesso ai grandi bid internazionali. Per cui diventa ancora più importante per noi capire e far capire alle aziende come e in quali occasioni, in quali ambiti un supplier come quelli che noi rappresentiamo può interagire e beneficiare appunto di un canale di accesso a un business, in questo caso etico e con delle finalità assolutamente positive per la costruzione di una società migliore, che però le aiuti anche nel concreto a recuperare quel terreno perso in questi primi mesi del 2020. Quindi unire l'utile al sociale credo che sia uno dei migliori win-win che potremmo immaginare. Concludo ricordando brevemente che questi appuntamenti, come l'amico Lovato ha ricordato, sono più di uno, perché avremo anche poi un appuntamento con l'Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank e un altro con la World Bank tra giugno e luglio, con lo stesso obiettivo, e cioè capire dove e come possiamo far sì che le nostre tecnologie riescano ad interagire con grandi apparati, con grandi progetti, portando quella qualità che siamo certi essere di fondamentale importanza, soprattutto per sviluppare quei paesi in cui c'è bisogno di sviluppo e di uno sviluppo positivo. Quindi food processing, tecnologie legate all'acqua, tecnologie per l'efficientamento energetico, sono 3 asset a partire dai quali riteniamo possa essere utile da un lato, ma anche doveroso dall'altro, approcciare dei paesi che, come nel caso dei paesi dell'area ASEAN, stanno vivendo un'esplosione demografica e un'esplosione dei consumi che ha necessità di essere indirizzata in un corretto filone ambientale, di tutela delle persone, di tutela della società, per costruire da subito un'infrastruttura compatibile e sostenibile. Lascio la parola a questo punto ai contenuti e vi ringrazio tutti.
Grazie Alessandro, grazie Roberto, grazie e benvenuti a tutti gli iscritti a questo webinar. Allora, da quanto ci pare di capire, questo è uno dei primi approcci per molti dei partecipanti, gli iscritti ANIMA, le banche multilaterali di sviluppo, la banca asiatica, e anche al fine di facilitare e indirizzare la presentazione di Kevin Moore, volevamo chiedere a tutti gli iscritti, a tutti i partecipanti, se questa è la prima volta, se hanno mai lavorato con la Banca Asiatica di Sviluppo. Quindi vi preghiamo di rispondere a video a questa prima domanda che lanciamo adesso. Per piacere cliccate sulla risposta che vi riguarda di più. Questo solo votato quasi tutti i partecipanti e diciamo solo il 9% dei partecipanti ha lavorato con la Banca Asiatica di Sviluppo, mentre il 60% non ha mai lavorato e il rimanente 30% non sono imprese, quindi non rilevano. Altro poll che volevamo sapere: quanti di voi hanno invece lavorato con le banche multilaterali di sviluppo, come la Banca Mondiale o, non so, la BERS, non so se... Ecco, qua la percentuale è decisamente più alta. Il 21% ha lavorato già con altre banche multilaterali di sviluppo. Questo è anche per dare un'indicazione a Kevin Moore sulla come focalizzare anche un po' l'intervento. So Kevin, when you will give your presentation, only 10% of participants have experience of working with the Asian Development Bank, while more than 20% have been working with other development banks, but not the ADB. Ecco, io volevo condividere brevemente una presentazione dove illustriamo brevemente cos'è la banca e cosa sono le banche multilaterali di sviluppo. La Banca Asiatica di Sviluppo ha sede, come diceva Kevin, nelle Filippine, a Manila. È stata fondata nel 1966, è stata una delle prime banche regionali di sviluppo a essere creata nel corso degli anni ha raggiunto un numero totale di 69 Paesi membri. L'Italia è ovviamente i Paesi membri, tra i Paesi membri più attivi. I maggiori azionisti sono gli Stati Uniti e il Giappone, però dalla Costituzione ad oggi tutti i presidenti della Banca Asiatica di Sviluppo sono stati giapponesi. È un po' come succede per la Banca Mondiale. Per tradizione tutti i presidenti della Banca Mondiale sono americani, i managing director del Fondo Monetario Internazionale è sempre un europeo, e nel caso della Banca Asiatica è sempre stato un giapponese. Finanzia progetti che sono in paesi che sono localizzati in Asia e in Oceania, diciamo. Cosa vuol dire questa espressione? Banca perché presta soldi a volte anche a tassi di mercato, ma generalmente a prezzi inferiori e concede anche sovvenzioni, quindi è una banca a tutti gli effetti. Ha dei periodi di restituzione che sono però molto dilazionati nel tempo per consentire la realizzazione di grandi infrastrutture. A differenza delle banche commerciali, le banche multilaterali di sviluppo non cercano di massimizzare i profitti per i loro azionisti. Perché multilaterali? Si chiamano multilaterali perché gli azionisti della banca sono generalmente una pluralità di governi che intervengono tramite i ministeri del tesoro dei rispettivi paesi. Infine di sviluppo perché l'assistenza forniscono assistenza finanziaria a paesi a basso reddito per promuovere sviluppo economico, sociale e spesso tramite la costituzione di infrastrutture. Ecco perché la Banca Multilaterale di Sviluppo. Dal 1945 ad oggi sono state create tantissime banche multilaterali di sviluppo. Sono circa 25 nel mondo le banche multilaterali di sviluppo. Pensate che dal 1945 ad oggi in media è stata creata una banca multilaterale di sviluppo ogni 3 anni. Si dividono in 3 grandi categorie. Ci sono quelle globali, in cui appunto ricade la Banca Mondiale, la European Investment Bank, che sostanzialmente finanziano progetti in ogni angolo del mondo, non hanno un vincolo geografico. Ci sono poi le banche regionali di sviluppo e la Asian Development Bank ricade proprio in questa categoria, perché ha come focus l'Asia, come l'African Development Bank ha come paesi di intervento con gli africani, la BERS, l'Europa orientale. Infine abbiamo le banche subregionali, sottoregioni dei principali continenti. C'è la Caribbean Development Bank, l'America Centrale, la Black Sea Trade and Development Bank per Asia Centrale e via discorrendo. Ecco, una importante distinzione, un importante elemento da chiarire che spesso costituisce elemento di confusione, la distinzione tra prestiti sovrani e prestiti non sovrani, sovereign loans e non sovereign, che è una distinzione importante. Chi sono i clienti delle banche multilaterali di sviluppo? Sono i governi generalmente, attraverso le agenzie esecutive. Ma le banche multilaterali di sviluppo prestano anche ai privati e consorzi di imprese, grandi consorzi di imprese per realizzare opere infrastrutturali. Quando i prestiti hanno come beneficiari i governi, sono garantiti da garanzia sovrana, e quindi il governo del paese che riceve il finanziamento che garantisce il finanziamento della banca, e questi si chiamano sovereign loans. Quando i finanziamenti sono concessi a soggetti privati sono non sovereign loans. Per darvi un'idea della ripartizione, per esempio nel caso della Banca Asiatica di Sviluppo, come sono ripartite queste 2 categorie, per numero di progetti potete vedere come il numero di progetti sovrani è di gran lunga superiore a quelli concessi al settore privato. Vediamo un esempio pratico di come funziona un tipico finanziamento. Nel 2019 la Banca Asiatica di Sviluppo ha concesso un finanziamento di $1 miliardo per la realizzazione della metropolitana di Mumbai. La banca concede il finanziamento al governo indiano, il borrower, che vedete indicato al centro. Il governo indiano poi concede la gestione materiale dell'espletamento delle gare a un'agenzia esecutiva, che in questo caso è la Mumbai Metropolitan Regional Development Authority, la MMRDA, che si occupa di mettere insieme e di realizzare quell'insieme di attività che sono il tendering, il procurement, ed è l'agenzia che indice le gare, quindi non è la Banca Asiatica di Sviluppo che indice direttamente le gare, ma è l'agenzia esecutiva designata dal governo beneficiario del finanziamento. È direttamente l'agenzia esecutiva del governo che si occupa del procurement e che invita le imprese a partecipare. Dove interviene la Banca Asiatica? La Banca Asiatica interviene, e questo è vero per tutte le banche regionali di sviluppo, interviene nel controllo. Si accerta che l'agenzia esecutiva nell'espletamento delle gare, delle procedure di gara, segua degli standard previsti dalla banca che concede il finanziamento. Pena la futura eventuale, diciamo, limitazione della concessione dei prestiti, per cui è interesse primario del governo beneficiario di rispettare in fondo tutte le regole del procurement della banca. Non c'è alcuna relazione contrattuale tra la banca e le imprese partecipanti. Quindi la relazione contrattuale che esiste è soltanto tra l'agenzia esecutiva, quindi il governo beneficiario del finanziamento, e la singola impresa. Però l'impresa, se ritiene di essere stata trattata ingiustamente, di essere stata esclusa ingiustamente, o se vuole segnalare episodi corruttivi, può rivolgersi direttamente alla Banca Asiatica, che aprirà eventualmente, se ne ricorrono i presupposti, una inchiesta. Passo la parola a Kevin Moore. Kevin, I just ended my introduction, so the floor and the screen is yours. If there is any questions from the audience, I will read them to you and I will try to translate them.
Thanks, Bernard. Appreciate it. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the presentation. I'm going to do a quick check first. Just Bernard, can you confirm that the slide is moving on my side?
This we can see yes, it's moving. Now it's moving. Okay. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Kevin Moore. I am a procurement specialist with the Asian Development Bank. I've been with the bank for 2.5 years, and I am basically, my role is to provide oversight and guidance to borrowers when they are undertaking ADB finance projects in the area of procurement. So my focus at the moment is on Southeast Asian countries, but I've also spent some time looking at projects in the Pacific. So today what I'm going to do is give a very short overview of ADB procurement. I'm not going to go into much detail because Bernard already covered a number of the basics. I'm then going to provide some inputs regarding the how our procedures work and focusing specifically on goods, because I understand that is what the majority of the interest is. And then I will kind of show you how to navigate the website, the key areas. I will do that using slides, but then I'm also going to use a live website. So what you will find as we go through the website is there is a huge amount of information there. It's just in terms of accessing that information. So we'll move forward and we'll start covering the various components of it. Okay, so as Bernard says, ADB, the Asian Development Bank, we're three things really. We're a multilateral agency, so therefore we work with government partners in the Asian Pacific region. We are a development organization. So as Bernard says, we are non-profit, and our goal is to improve the lifestyles and the life of all people living in Asia and the Pacific, and rise them out of poverty, increase their development of countries, etc. And then at the bottom of that, we are a banking institution. So we undertake these development objectives by providing loans, grants, and technical assistance to our borrowing countries. And those three arms of ADB's financial tools, technical assistance is provided to governments when they are planning projects, when they're designing projects, and it's basically a financing, generally grant financing, so with no requirement to pay it back, to developing countries to prepare projects so that they can be approved by ADB. Loans and grants are used for the implementation of projects, for the procurement, the purchase of of goods, works, and services. And whether a country gets a loan or a grant or a mixture is based depending on its level of development. So ADB has a system whereby, depending on the level of development within a country, they will either receive grants, so in essence with no requirement to pay back, blends of loans and grants, and then two types of loans, concessional loans and what's called ordinary capital resources. And in terms of the loans, there is a range of payment periods, interest rates, etc., again linked to the development stage of the organization. As was already explained, we were founded in 1966. Our headquarters is in Manila in the Philippines. We have 68 members. Okay, so 49 of whom are in the region, 19 of whom are non-regional members, and those non-regional members are made up of predominantly European, along with the United States and Canada. So that is important just in terms of the membership for let's say firms like yourselves. The reason that is important is that for the vast majority of projects that ADB releases to the market, the membership is restricted to members. So only members of the bank, except in some cases, can bid on those projects, be that consulting services, goods, works, etc. So there are restrictions depending on the source of financing as to who can participate. So, you know, as you will see from the list, you know, there are no South American countries there, there are no African countries there, the Middle East is generally not represented. We're predominantly talking about Asia, the Pacific, Europe, and North America. ADB operates that we have 5 regions in which we operate, and I provide this screen just to give you an indication of those countries. You can click when you receive the slides after the call. You can click on the link here, and that'll bring you directly to each of the countries. So we operate in Central West Asia. We have East Asia, which is just China, Mongolia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific. So that accounts for all of our developing countries and all of our borrowing countries in the region. As was briefly explained, there is no contractual relationship under loans and grants. So when we get to the implementation stage, when we are talking about the procurement of goods, works, and services, but under technical assistance and in the planning of projects, which is predominantly consulting services, the contract is between the firm and ADB. So that is just for consulting services in the preparation of projects. So ADB contracts consulting firms in order to assist the governments in delivering the plans for the projects and delivering the feasibility studies, detailed designs, etc. And as was mentioned, in terms of consulting services, Italy is close to the top in terms of non-borrowing countries in terms of the engagement with ADB on the consulting front. When it is within the loan or the grant, you will engage directly with the executing agency within the country. There will be no direct engagement with ADB, albeit ADB in many cases does transfer the funds once we receive a request from the borrowers directly to the contractors, the consultants, and the suppliers. So we may disperse payments depending on the agreements on the project, but other than that, we do not have a direct relationship, and your first point of contact is with the executing agency or the implementing agency for the project. I will touch base a little later on in terms of if issues occur and the measures that are in place for you to try and have a complaint addressed if you're not getting feedback from the executing agency. Because we do have procedures and we do have facilities in place that you can send complaints to ADB if there are issues arising on your projects. Just to give a sort of an overview of where we work and the spread of the financing within our portfolio across the region. In 2019, our overall portfolio, that is all projects that have been approved and are underway, is in the region of $88.8 billion. As you can see from the screen here on the left-hand side, we have had a rather dramatic rise over the last 5 years in terms of the volume of financing that we are lending to countries in the region. And we have moved from, circa 70 million right up to 88, almost 89 billion US dollars. You can expect that trend to flatten out. The bank during 2016, 2017 undertook some changes internally, reorganized the finances and the way it undertakes work. So that led to this dramatic rise of about $15 billion over the course of 3 years. But we, as I said, we can expect that to flatten out and for the rate of growth to slow somewhat as we move forward, assuming we move forward under a normal environment, noting the issues currently with the COVID-19 pandemic. Where we are most active in terms of regions is South Asia, where we have a portfolio of about $31 billion, and that is about 35% of ADB's loans. And following that, then we look at, and it's Central and West Asia, so a lot of the former Soviet countries and other countries in that region, where we have about $22.5 billion, so roughly about 25%. So if you look at the regions, the two Western regions, so South Asia and Central West, make up about 60% of the portfolio. With East Asia, Southeast Asia, Pacific, and some other minor activities that we undertake in the areas of knowledge, accounting for the last $500 million. In terms of the sectors where we're most active, it is fairly consistent over the years. Transport, energy, and water remain the three top sectors within which the bank works, account for about 70% of our overall lending, loans and grants. But we are seeing sort of, some increases in areas such as agriculture. Education is slightly down this year. It had grown for a number of years before that, but we are seeing slight drops in some of the more traditional portfolios as some focus comes on agriculture and education, and perhaps next year health may also tip into that area. And that is our sovereign portfolio. As was mentioned earlier, ADB has a sovereign and non-sovereign portfolio. And our non-sovereign portfolio, where we work in essence with the private sector in our borrowing countries, with the support of those governments, is also steadily increasing over the years. We have a year-on-year growth in terms of our portfolio, with the predominant portion of the portfolio related to loans to the private sector. So then we have other issues, which are debt securities, some guarantees and some equities. But overall, we are talking about loans. And when you look at the work that ADB does, it is fundamentally about loans. The vast majority of the lending we do is countries with repayment terms. And was mentioned earlier, countries come to ADB normally because the terms upon which they can get those loans is better than on the commercial markets, even taking into account the current low interest rates around the world. In some cases, countries that may not need to borrow still come to ADB, mostly for technical assistance and knowledge, and in some cases to leverage the reputation and the credit rating of ADB as a AAA rated agency, to leverage for additional financing from other actors. So, that is in some areas where you might not expect us to have a large lending portfolio, we are still involved and providing loans to the countries. Translating those mind-boggling numbers, those numbers that you saw on the last slide into actual hard contracts, sort of over a 3-year period, the average number of contracts we have over the course of a year, from, let's say, contracts of $100,000 plus, is somewhere in the region of about 3,000 contracts. And here you can see that the range in terms of the value. So, contracts are between 100,000 and 1 million. We're talking, around about 2,000 contracts. Contracts with a value between 1 million and 20 million, about 1,000. And then for high value contracts above $20 million, we're looking at, around about 150. So underneath that, you can see the average contract size within those ranges. So you know, it gives maybe a better idea or more conceptual idea of what the business flow is like and the opportunities that are there with the bank, away from the high level numbers. And while we have about, you know, circa $90 billion of a portfolio, you know, that's translating, and in 2019, that translated to about 10 billion of contracts being signed within the year. Okay, let me go back to that. About $10.6 billion of contracts being signed. So when you look at the $90 billion, what you see is a project duration that ranges between 5 and 7, 8 years. So at any one time, you have a large number of contracts in play, and hence the portfolio is the size that you see. Just on the left-hand side there, I've just given an indication of some of the, you know, some of the types of contracts that we generally see within the organization. In terms of our level of engagement with the Italian firms, I've just shown contractors and suppliers, given what I thought was the audience. I haven't shown the consulting services slide, but that was already mentioned earlier. And here you can see sort of the top 5 contractors and suppliers from Italy that are involved in goods, works, and related services, together with the contract amounts. One slight discrepancy, or one thing that comes up when we speak to representatives from governments, is that this only shows suppliers who are registered in Italy. So if it is an Italian supplier who is registered in any one of ADB's developing member countries, that will not show up in these statistics. These statistics generally link to firms who have a legal registration in Italy. We are aware that a lot of Italian suppliers have either joint ventures or other relationships with national firms in a lot of the countries where we work. So this amount here which is for the last 5 years, would understate the overall amount of engagement of Italian firms on ADB financed projects. So in terms of why to pursue ADB finance projects, it is a gateway to new opportunities in Asia and the Pacific. You know, while we have these large numbers of contracts, when they talk about the number of the needs of the Asia and the Pacific region, they don't speak in billions, they speak in trillions. So ADB is sort of like an entry point into the region. It is a kindergarten in some respects, one could say, for entering into the region, because it provides you with a lot of safety nets that may not be there if you are working directly with governments, or if you're working, you know, directly with the private sector in the country. Funding and availability of funds is assured when you enter into ADB financed contracts. It is not possible to enter into contracts unless the funding has been secured, unless ADB has approved the project. We use internationally accepted procurement procedures. I'll touch on that a small bit later. And we manage the risks related to transparency, fairness, and integrity of the procurement process through the oversight that we undertake. And we have a number of entities within the bank who keep an eye on this, from ourselves in the procurement team, but also our Office of Anti-Corruption and Integrity, who investigate any complaints that are to do with integrity related issues, any corruption related complaints. They will investigate those, and they debar, they blacklist both firms that engage in these sort of practices, and also deal with them if it's on the borrower's side. So as I mentioned, sort of international best practices, we have public advertisement of all of our opportunities on our website, particularly those above sort of a US dollar 1 million value. All of our bids for goods and works and for consulting service have public bid openings and written records. We undertake robust bid evaluation procedures, and these vary compared with the complexity of the work and the type of work that's undertaken. But as Roberto mentioned at the beginning of the discussion, we have started to increase our focus on quality when we assess bids, and allowing our borrowers to include mechanisms to assess quality and not just rely on the lowest bids that are received from suppliers. This is an option that's currently within our portfolio of options for executing agencies. And we are starting to see increased usage on our projects, especially where projects are of high risk or high complexity. It is becoming more popular. All of our results are published on our website, and I will shortly show you how to access all of that information. And at every step of the process, we oversee the transactions. So ADB will, for instance, on a standard project that is being released to the market, ADB will review the documents before they go to bid, will review the evaluation reports before the award is made, and will oversee the management of the contract. Now, again, due to the large number of contracts that you saw on the previous screen, we have different mechanisms for doing that. On large value or complex projects, all of this is done in advance. For lower value, low risk projects, we operate on a trust and verify basis. So we would do an initial assessment at the beginning of the project, and then at various intervals during the project, we will undertake an audit of any procurement transactions that have been undertaken over that period. We also have a debriefing and a complaints mechanism. So there are procedures in place both for debriefing firms and also for registering and managing complaints. And then, as I already mentioned, we have robust fraud and corruption procedures. All of these and all of this information is contained within our documents, the documents that guide the procurement that we undertake. And as was discussed earlier, ADB has a new procurement policy. We are getting to the stage where we will stop calling it new because it was published in 2017. But because of the time frame for developing projects, which is anything from 12 to 24 months, we are now in the last 12 months seeing a lot of these projects under the new policies coming online. So the primary piece of legislation, shall we say, for that guides ADB procurement is the ADB procurement policy. And it is then supported with the procurement regulations for ADB borrowers. So both of these documents are available on our website, and I will show you how to find those a bit later on once we move through the presentation. In terms of how we procure goods, the base method of procurement is open competitive bidding. Depending on the value and the complexity of the package, this is either advertised nationally or internationally, nationally being in local media, or internationally being in an international newspaper and on ADB's website. But nonetheless, notwithstanding the fact it is internationally advertised or nationally advertised, it is open to all bidders. So it is not restricted to national advertising. Does not mean that the documents are restricted to firms who are registered in that country and firms who are national contractors or national suppliers. In some cases, you will have a bit more complexity bidding because quite sometimes nationally advertised bids are in local language and they may have shorter bidding periods, but there is nothing stopping. There is no requirement or there is nothing stopping international firms from bidding on national contracts. So open competitive bidding is the default. There are a number of other forms of bidding, but I'm not going to go into them today because for international transactions that you will do, you will predominantly be involved in open competitive bidding. The rest of these are simple variations. I will touch upon request for quotations, which is for low value works, and direct contracting is where a firm is approached directly to undertake the projects. But this is quite a rare scenario, and it requires full justification to ADB before it is permitted. In terms of goods, and I know I'm talking to quite a lot of suppliers today. We have standard users guides from the procurement of goods. You can find the users guide at this link, which will be shared after the webinar. And we generally use, for all international transactions, we use standard bidding documents, which contain terms and conditions that are quite often tested internationally or perhaps used not only by ADB, but also by other multilateral banks. So ADB's conditions of contract for goods is substantially the same as the World Bank's contract for goods. For works, for other projects that are, let's say, like design, build, operate, we use the FIDIC suite of contracts, and which are quite well known around the world. Our bidding document has 9 sections, which takes you through 3 main parts of the process. Section 1 is to do with the rules that will guide the bidding and how bids will be evaluated. Section 2 is related to the technical aspects of the project and the requirements of the executing agency for the project. And Section 3 contains the contract terms and forms that will be used to engage with your firms if you are a winner. Okay, so what we dissuade, we do not encourage changes to these documents when governments are releasing tenders, but you may see some minor changes from time to time based on the direct discussions between the ADB and the various government ministries. In terms of how the process moves, we start with pre-qualification. Then we have a bidding process. For international tenders, bidding is generally a minimum of 6 weeks. But when we get into more complex contracts such as design, build, operate, then we move into a period of months. And ADB reviews these time periods when we receive the documents to ensure that firms are not disadvantaged and have sufficient time to submit adequate bids. We also have bid opening procedures, as I mentioned earlier, public bid opening procedures, and we have detailed bid evaluation procedures. And on our website, you can actually find how governments are required to follow the bid evaluation. What are the steps in the process? What constitute large deviations from requirements and small deviations from requirements? So that is all on our website. Contract award requires approvals by ADB. And then we have contract management. And contract management is a traditional area of weakness for our borrowers and the bank. And under the new policy, we are really starting to try and address that now. So in terms of common mistakes that we see when firms are submitting bids, if the bids are not signed, then a bid is rejected. If there is no bid security or bid securing declaration, bids are rejected. Other elements such as insufficient amounts of bid security, incorrect validity periods, these sort of incomplete bids, lack of supporting documents, will not be immediate grounds for rejection, but will lead to clarifications and do lead to delays in the process. So they are best avoided. If conflicts of interest are disclosed, that creates issues. And where bid conditions require separate financial offers and from technical offers, that would lead to an exclusion of a bidder. Okay. Generally in contracts, we permit our borrowers to clarify any minor issues with documents, either during the evaluation stage or during negotiations prior to contract award. But again, if there's a lot of minor deviations, it may lead to bids being rejected. I touched briefly on the ability to get debriefs and complaints. This is just a small slide on that. If you, and I suppose the only thing I would suggest here is that if you are not getting feedback from the governments and have made multiple attempts to contact the governments, then you can contact ADB. And at this link here, for a briefing, you may just contact us directly and ask us if you have a complaint. We have a standard system and an online form that can be completed, which sends an alert to the individual who's responsible for the project, but also to, for example, me as the procurement specialist, advising that a complaint has been issued that needs to be addressed. It is a requirement that the first stage of complaints goes to the borrower. And if you are sending a complaint to ADB without following that process, you will be guided to follow the correct process. But we will address all complaints that have merit, and we will ensure that they are investigated and resolved correctly. If your complaint relates to a procurement process, this is the link you go to. If your complaint links to claims of corruption or integrity related issues, our anti-corruption team have a separate system in place. Okay, so that is my overview of ADB's processes. So I will now, unless Bernard, unless you want to come in for any questions on that, I will now move to the business opportunities. Which do you prefer? Okay.
Kevin, I think it's fine. So far, we didn't get any questions. I see no hands raised. There is no questions in the Q&A section. So maybe we can save the question for the end. Vi invitiamo, se avete domande, o porle nella Q&A in basso o semplicemente alzate la mano e poi vi chiameremo a porre la vostra domanda. Vi, diciamo, accenderemo il microfono e potrete porre direttamente la vostra domanda. Okay, Kevin, so far, no questions. Let's go ahead and let's collect them for later.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in terms of business opportunities that are available and how to find them, our website has www.adb.org, has a number of ways in which you can access information. So ADB has a business center, and in the business center, you can find information related to all documents, all guides, all procedures of the bank, including sample bidding documents, guidelines on evaluating bids, and areas that you can go for further information if you're interested in working with ADB. Similarly, it has a section which will provide you with details of all projects and tenders that are undertaken by the bank and that are advertised on our website. And then finally, there is a section on operational procurement, which provides more information on the various aspects of how our procurement systems work. Just to be aware, operational procurement relates to loans and grants for borrowers. Institutional procurement relates to procurement of goods, works, and services for the operation of the bank itself. So it's possibly not of interest directly to those that are on the call, but just to be aware that we have a separate procurement team at the bank who deals with procurement to, let's say, keep our HQ building going, keep our regional offices, our field offices going, and that is dealt with under a separate team within the bank. So in terms of the business center, as I mentioned, you will find, if you access the adb.org/business, you will find this page, and I will go to it somewhat later and navigate it for you live. But you will find sort of the how to do business with ADB, as I said, policies, documents, and forms. And that is done by clicking in. If you click on contractors and suppliers, it will tailor a list of information directly to you, rather than having to navigate information that will be for, say, consultants or governments or other development institutions. So it is quite easy to navigate, and as I said, we will touch on it a bit later on. Then when we talk about sort of operational procurement, in this section of the website, you will find sort of information related to where you can find procurement plans, sort of advanced action. And in terms of what advanced action is there's the ability of borrowers that before ADB approves a project, so before we, let's say, approve $100 million to build a road in a country, bidders can release their tenders to the market, and they can release it in advance of the financing being available. That can take place, up to 12 months before a project is approved. So, during that phase, you may not see all of the other documentation for the project on our website, but being aware of these advanced actions and these advanced tenders, and generally the notice, they will be advertised sort of like between, let's say, 6 weeks and the bidding date. Sort of like 6 weeks out, they will be advertised that these bids are coming to market shortly, and be ready for them when they arrive. As I mentioned before, standard bidding procedures are contained here, but also a list of pre-qualified applicants, pre-qualified contractors. And this is of use because if you are looking for secondary opportunities, and I will show you how to access this shortly, both the pre-qualified contractor lists and lists of contracts awarded is a ready resource that you can search for the details and the names and addresses of contractors and perhaps even suppliers in each of the countries who have already won a tender with ADB, or better again, have been pre-qualified and will be bidding on a tender with ADB. One thing I will note is that pre-qualification is not hugely common within the bank. It takes quite a lot of time to undertake. It is almost a second tender phase, so you will not see a lot of large activity within this section of the website, but you will see a lot of activity here within contracts awarded. All right, so in terms of the procurement plan, if you go to our website, there is a search box, and you can search basically by country. You can search by the type of document that you want. So when you search for a procurement plan, and we will go through it later, you can simply tick a box, you can select a country, and it will bring you up all of the options, including the year in which the project was approved. The procurement plan publishes all of the, it publishes all of the packages that will be released under a project. So if you have an energy project, there could be 15, 20 packages under that project. Some would be goods, some would be works, and then some would be services. So it lists out and publishes on our website what are the expected goods, works, and services that are required. And if I show you an example here, maybe just to explain, if you do go into our website and you do find one, this is a procurement plan for a project in the Maldives quite recently. You will see that it will tell you, so this is a goods contract. So you will see that what is being purchased, so waste shredders, sieving machines, bulldozers, excavators, waste balers, etc. What is the estimated value of the transaction? What is the procurement method? And if you recall, when I discussed earlier, OCB, the open competitive bidding, is the most common method. The review will tell you if ADB is going to review everything before or after the activity takes place. So for prior review, it means that ADB will look at the bidding documents before it goes to market. Will look at any changes to the bidding documents during the process, will approve extensions to the bid duration, and will review and approve the evaluation report prior to authorizing the entity to advertise and publish who has won the bid. So prior review is an increased level of diligence and oversight that we provide on the packages. In terms of bidding procedure, we have a number. We have what is called one stage, one envelope. We have one stage, two envelope, two stage, and two stage, two envelope. What this means is one stage, one envelope means that we have one envelope containing both the technical and the financial offers for the project. Two envelope means that, as it says, the technical will be in one envelope, the financial will be in another envelope. The technical evaluation will be undertaken and approved by ADB, and only the financial offers of the technical acceptable firms will be opened. For two-stage and two-stage procurement, two envelope, ADB or the borrower will release a set of requirements, receive submissions, evaluate them, go back out to the market again with more detailed requirements, and then request technical and financial proposals. Two-stage and two-stage, two envelope are rarely used in the bank. They're used more for complex tenders, or where the borrower is not clear on exactly how they are going to procure what they need. So two-stage relies on the market to come with ideas, which are then refined by the borrower before requesting final technical and financial proposals. The advertisement date reflects when it is expected that the package will go to the market. And then in the comments section, you will find other information that links back to some of the things I discussed earlier. So when we talk about OCB, this is with international advertisement. So it will be open, it'll be in English using our international standard bidding documents, and published also in wider dissemination. There is no pre-qualification envisaged. Domestic preference is permits governments to favor or add a weighting on the bids received from local firms. It is rarely used within the bank for works, but it can be used for goods. So if domestic preference is ticked here, you will find when the bidding documents are released that it details how bids received from national bidders will be evaluated vis-a-vis those received from other international firms. So we do permit that in certain instances if it's agreed with ADB under projects to undertake. Advanced contracting, advanced action, I just mentioned it, they're the same thing. It is early bid release. And then at the bottom, you will see that this is procurement for goods. When it comes to advanced action, advanced notice, advanced contracting, they all mean the same thing. But again, available on our website, and we'll tell you when it is in, what is the project and when it is likely to go to market, or what is the time frame for it going to market. When we go through the website, I will show you how to access that. When the bid package is advertised, it will be listed on our website if it is in excess of $1 million, and it can be searched by country, by sector, and by type of notice. So the type of notice you will be looking for is an invitation to bids in the energy sector in Vietnam. It will bring up all tenders that are currently either open or closed, and you can filter accordingly. Within the documents, then you will provide a summary of what the bidding process is. What are the main qualification requirements for the bidding process, and who the bid should be submitted to and when. And the purpose of the invitation is really to provide enough information to you before you decide to purchase the bidding documents. So in certain countries, in certain jurisdictions, bidding documents are free. In others, there is a fee, but ADB moderates and will comment on fees that are excessively high. So we only allow it to cover the costs of printing, et cetera, et cetera. So it is retained at a reasonable level. When I spoke about secondary opportunities, so when you have pre-qualification is undertaken, what you will generally see is you will find a list of pre-qualified applicants, and they will be linked by the name, or if there's a joint venture, the joint venture will be listed along with the nationality. That is the level of detail that will generally be provided. When we go through it later on, I'll show a bit more detail, but any work that you need to do then after that stage is down to you as a company. But I think, you know, with the names of the entities, it substantially short circuits any searching that may be required. Okay, similarly on contracts awarded, you will find the details of how much the contract was, who was awarded it. If there's a address, the address will be linked as well. And there's also an archive that's available, so you can look historically back a number of months. In fact, you can look back to 2016 to find who has been awarded contracts on ADB finance projects above a certain threshold. So, right. So in terms of when we look at those spreadsheets, what you find is this is what you will generally see. And it reflects what is on the website. So you will find the project name, the country, project name, name of the contractor, their address, what the contract was for, so whether it's goods or if it's construction or if it's consulting services, it will be listed along with the contract value and the date the contract was signed. You will also get an idea of what sector it is in, and that will be on the right-hand side, and that generally goes to a small bit more granularity. So instead of saying water sector, it will say if it's irrigation, if it's urban flood protection. So it gives a small bit more granularity there. In terms of ADB's upcoming portfolio, I will share, and we will share with you, along with the materials from this presentation, ADB's expected project pipeline between sort of 2019, 2021. And this will provide a list of all of the projects that we're expecting will be approved by the bank. So in general, as you will see here, these are the regions I mentioned earlier. This is the approval year, and this is the country and the name of the project, as well as the estimated grant and loan amount for those projects. These projects will generally be under processing or will be in the pipeline. There will not be a lot of information online about them yet, but if you can figure out what the country is and what the project is, you can perhaps make contact either with the project officer within ADB, which I'll show you later, or upon finding out who is the executing agency or the implementing agency at government level, engage directly with local counterparts in the country and the governments to try and develop more of an understanding of their needs and when tender opportunities will come to market. But as I said, we will provide you with some information on this in the package of documentation you will receive after the presentation. And what you will receive are projects that are in the water sector, the energy sector, and also in the urban sector. So that's in relation to that component. Okay, so just to recap, for international advertisement, greater than $1 million, you will find it on our website. You should also find it on a freely and publicly accessible website in English and in a newspaper of national circulation in English, if that is available, or on the website in the borrower's country. So that is for international advertisement. When it's nationally advertised, it will just be in a newspaper of national circulation or a website. It may be in the language of the borrower. But with things like Google Translate these days, it is not too difficult to also navigate these websites. Finally, before we get to questions on this section and before I start doing maybe a live presentation of how the website is navigated, if you subscribe to ADB's alerts, https alerts.adb.org, simply by clicking this link when you receive the documents. Within there, you can access a whole suite of ADB related information. But one sort of key as to what we're talking about here will be procurement notices for goods and works. So you will register with your email address and with your name. And then you can decide on the frequency at which you will receive notices of goods and works. The notifications are not very granular in nature. They will generally say the project and provide a small bit of related information. And then it would be up to you to navigate further from there. It does not get into details of exactly what the package is, exactly what is being procured in terms of goods, works, or services. So it is at a higher level, and it is not possible to simply request the notices only for goods in a certain sector, in a certain region. Unfortunately, we do not have that level of step down in terms of getting that information. So I will now go straight to, before we get to questions, I will go straight to navigating the website and just taking you through a few of the steps in order that you can sort of see how best to access our website.
Kevin.
Yes, Dean.
Kevin, if I may interrupt, before moving on to the next section, there are a couple of questions which were sent in, and if you don't mind, I can read them for you so that maybe we can answer them.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is from SACE, the Italian Export Credit Agency. Is asking, when a project is published on the ADB website in the procurement section, the financial package for the project for its sponsor is already closed.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I think I understand what is asked there.
Okay.
I believe what they're saying is has the financing been confirmed at that stage? But he also would like to answer this question. Oh, sorry, there's something that's come up. I spoke about advanced action, and where advanced action happens on a project. Let me go back. When the project is published on ADB's website, so when you find the project and you find the documents that are called report and recommendations to the president and the program administrative manual, which I will show you shortly. Yes, then the financing package for the project is already closed. It's already confirmed. So those documents are not posted until the ADB board has approved the financing and the implementation of the project. What you may see in advance of that is individual transactions that will be financed under that project going to the market and advanced actions or specific procurement notices being advertised on our website for those packages. Where we have advanced action, commonly the rule is that we can undertake the entire process, but not award, the government can go through the entire process, but not award the package until the loan or the grant is effective, except in some very distinct scenarios where they are financing it themselves, and it will be repaid by ADB later. But that does not happen so often, and they are limited to only do that to about 20% of the overall loan value. I hope that answers the question. Do you want me to do the second question?
Yes, yes, go ahead with answering the second question. I think you can see them on screen.
Yeah. As project. I'm not clear on what the second question is referring to. When we talk about a corporate risk basis, perhaps we could have some maybe more clarification on that.
Maybe Mr. Ceccarelli would like to ask the question himself live. Maybe
yeah, sure.
I will allow him to talk. And Mr. Ceccarelli vuole fare la domanda direttamente? Il suo microfono è attivo e può porre la domanda se vuole. Aspetti, vediamo un po'. Sì, prego.
Good morning everyone. And thank you for this webinar. Yes, very briefly, I'm just wondering if the projects are supported by ADB, are supported in several kind of risks. This means as project finance or corporate risk basis. I mean that, for example, a large player in the Philippines, like I can imagine San Miguel, for example, that is realizing a project. The intervention of ADB is can imply a financing directly to San Miguel. So this means on a corporate risk basis, and if not, and the risk of no repayment of the loan. Is basically the risk that San Miguel is not able to repay the loan, or in general the projects supported by ADB are just related to the risk of the project, and so market risk and all those kinds of typical risks that we can see in project finance, that the repayment is no more possible. I don't know if I clarified.
Yeah, I understand. I think I understand what you mean, but I'll ask you to verify if what I'm saying is correct, because I'm a procurement guy. I'm not a banker. When we have sovereign projects, as I mentioned earlier, the government is the borrower, and if they are unwilling to pay, or if they default on their obligations to pay. Yes, in theory, ADB would lose the financing. I suppose that has never happened, I don't believe, because that would send a signal to the international markets that would have huge issues for governments in terms of their borrowings. When we talk about non-sovereign transactions and ADB dealing with the private sector, and that's what you're speaking about here, if ADB was to give a non-sovereign loan to San Miguel, the government will provide some comfort, or some, let's say, not collateral, but will almost guarantee that loan to the private sector as well. So my understanding of how the system works is that there is still, even on the private sector loans, there is still some discussion with the government with regards to the risks involved. But I don't have, non-sovereign is not an area that I deal with directly. And we have a completely, let's say there is a different division within the bank who deals with that, but that's my general understanding of how it works. Is that a reasonable answer? Okay, Fabrizio is on his microphone.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your answer. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, the next question that I see is, when a project identification is known to the public with its procurement package, Generally, so I've given you, shall we call it a cheat sheet in terms of the projects that will be coming up for the next 3 years. I'll show you on the website as well the various stages at which projects may become known to you in terms of their pipeline, because there are 1 or 2 steps above the procurement plan where you can access information about the project. So ADB has a corporate strategy with each country, and then it has a pipeline of projects from that country that can be accessed pretty early in the process. And in there you will find a list of projects, the value, the sector, and when it's expecting that they will go for approval. So that will be the first indication that you know that a project is happening. The first time you will see all of the procurement packages detailed is when the procurement plan is published, and the procurement plan is not published until the project is approved. So in advance of the procurement plan being approved, you need to be looking for the advanced actions. You also need to be looking for the advertisement of packages on an ad hoc basis. And that is where signing up for the notifications that I discussed earlier would be of interest. So a project may not be approved for approval until sort of like 2021, but you could find that when packages are being released to the public, they are going out in early 2020. So that is when you would generally find the various packages being published. So full list not available until the project is approved, but for any advanced action that's undertaken, as the packages are being released to the market, you should see an advanced action notice that will be coming out, and then you should actually receive the advertisement of the package itself. Bernard, over to you.
Okay, I see, 1 second, there is another question coming in. So somebody raised their hands. Okay, let's see. Okay, Gianpaolo answer, thanking you. Let's see. No, I think it's fine. We answered all the questions, and we can move on to the next section.
Okay, well, let me see if I can get this, because it seems like I'm having a difficulty sharing my screen. Can you confirm what screen you can see now, Bernard, just so I'm...
We just see your Google screen.
Okay, you can see Google. Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you, just to go through a few of the elements that I discussed in the presentation, just so you can see it live, there's 2 ways of accessing information on NADB. And the first is quite simply to navigate the website. And as we discussed earlier, there is the business center, there is operational procurement, and there is projects and tenders. But quite often there's an easier way to do it is simply to use Google. So if you want to see contracts awarded by ADB, you go ADB contracts awarded. Okay, and it generally, Google is pretty good at this. It will bring up a list of contracts awarded by ADB as a first option. Similarly, you want to find out about operational procurement, ADB operational procurement. And it will hit you with the first hit. So Google is a very intuitive way of finding things on ADB's website. It will prevent you from having to navigate multiple screens. So what I would suggest is, if you know where you want to go, maybe based on this presentation or based on other information you have, take a first shot with Google. If you don't, then go in and navigate the website a bit. So just one final thing, because this is one area that is pretty reasonably difficult to find. If we go ADB energy, right, then you will find ADB's focus on energy. It will bring you straight to the energy section of our website, where you will find sort of related information about ADB's about the energy sector. So facts and figures, our work, our projects, etc., etc. You will find sort of latest news and a load more. So Google as a shortcut is quite a good way to move forward. But let me get back to navigating the website. And the first thing I will bring up is really, and it was discussed earlier, it was sort of navigating ADB's how to find opportunities early. So we have sort of 4 main entry points into the website. Okay, you will also find at the bottom, if you scroll right down, other information as well and other ways to access. But accessing through the top, if we go to where we work, so let's say you wanted to find out what is the pipeline for projects in Uzbekistan, shall we say, because the energy sector is normally there's a good bit happening there. If you go to Uzbekistan, you will find some information in relation to ADB's projects and also some news regarding Uzbekistan, and also how to contact our office in Uzbekistan, right? And if you click on this button here called the strategy, you will get an overview of what ADB's strategy in Uzbekistan is going to be. And as well as that, you will also find details related to the strategy, but also the business plan. And when I spoke about the business plan earlier, it gives a list of upcoming projects that ADB will undertake in Uzbekistan over a certain period of time. So quite quickly, if I can make this work correctly, and please tell me if a PDF does not arrive on your screen now. You will find the business plan for ADB in Uzbekistan. You will also find the what ADB's projects are going to be in that region over a period of time. So if you can see the screen there in front of me, you will see that for the in the energy sector, ADB will be having a gas transmission project, which will be the year of the TRTA is the technical assistance that I spoke about. It will be in 2019. The total value of the project is $600 million, of which 300 million will come from ADB and 300 million will come from additional co-financing. And this is the first stage at which you will find information in terms of where ADB intends to go. It will generally be marked firm or standby. So as firm projects are ones that we are pretty comfortable that will go for approval. Standby means they may be a bit more tentative, or they may be pushed into the year of 2021. So when you navigate this, there are a lot of acronyms, but don't worry, because the acronyms are hopefully explained at the bottom. But we have transport, education, finance, agriculture, natural resources, and so on. So that is the first entry point that you will find when you are engaging with ADB and when you are trying to find out what projects are in the portfolio. The PDF document that I will share with you is actually the compilation of all of the country operations business plans for all of ADB's member countries, and then it is as I say, relatively up to date. Okay, so now just stepping back from the country business plan and going back to operational procurement. All right, so work with those operational procurement. Okay, there is a question. Will I deal with it now, Bernard, or you want me to proceed? Microphone.
Yes, yeah, let's see, there is this question. I don't know if the gentleman would like to raise the question himself through his voice, or maybe you just can answer it, because I don't see his hand up. So go ahead and answer the question from, I guess, la SIPA SPA. C'è una domanda da SIPA SPA. che domanda: does the ADB regulation work also at the level of executive agency supplier relation? Does ADB discipline directly the executing agency procurement procedures?
Okay, so the ADB requires, executing agencies are required to follow ADB procedures where there is a conflict with their own national procedures. So where ADB regulates certain requirements, governments are required to follow those requirements. In some cases for national advertising, ADB may allow some deferral to national regulations following assessment, but only when we can determine that the risk in doing so is of an acceptable nature and there is broad equivalence with the procurement policy and with the core procurement principles of ADB. So we have a provision called alternative procurement arrangements where we can accredit executing agencies to use their own rules. However, on investment lending, which is what we're discussing today, we currently have not done that with any of our developing member countries. Where developing member countries will use their own procedures is in another modality that ADB uses called results-based lending, where we do not control so much the process and the projects that the government is undertaking. We take a more hands-off approach to results-based lending, and in those instances, they will use their own procurement procedures to purchase goods, works, and services, following an assessment by ADB. But for investment lending and for the sovereign portfolio that I've shared today, and all of the projects that I'm showing, they will in essence have to follow ADB's rules, unless ADB, after reviewing their own rules and procedures, agrees that there is equivalence with ADB's rules. Okay.
Okay, I think we can move on.
Okay, perfect. Right, where was I? Okay. Business Center, and just to confirm, Bernard, you're seeing me navigating through the website. So you saw the PDF previously. Now you can see the website again. Okay,
yes, we do.
Okay, so when we talk about the Business Center, and this is where I was discussing earlier, in the Business Center you will find contractors and suppliers. As I mentioned, you will see a sort of you will find the how-tos, and there is a list of questions here that you may find. These are sort of like frequently asked questions. Our policies and regulations, and as I discussed earlier, if I click into the procurement policy, you will find that this is will give you a direct download link to the policy, which is also available in other languages if anyone is trying to learn Russian, Chinese, Myanmar, Burmese, or any of these languages. You will find that this clause applies. This project applies to projects with concept notes approved on or after July 2017. There is currently a split in our projects because projects before the new policy came into place in 2017 follow the old rules. But I won't complicate it, because if you're now looking at new transactions coming on board over the next year or two, 90% of those will be under our new policy. But just be aware that there is other policy guiding older projects that you may find. The differences are nuanced. There isn't anything huge in terms of the difference, but the difference is there. On this website, you will also find some videos about our major changes that we made to it, but the main information here is the policy. On all our web pages, you will also find links to related documents, and sort of the related document here is the regulations that I spoke about earlier. And again, it provides a downloadable link that you can access the procurement regulations of ADB. I won't open them up directly now, but you can access them. Yes, Bernard.
Kevin, we've got about around 10-15 minutes more to go. There was a question from a gentleman asking, how do I get an email address from a team leader or a team specialist on the website? Since you used to publish them before on the website of ADB, now it seems you don't publish them anymore. Is there a way around?
Correct. Not as easy as it used to be. So there used to be a workaround, but there isn't anymore. But let's say if we go to work with us projects and tenders, if you're looking for a project, and we discussed this earlier, so you're working in the energy sector and you're looking for a project in the Philippines, and you find sort of a project that you are working in. So if we look at this project here, Green Bond, when you click into the project, you will find the name of the project officer here, and you can either click on this link, which will bring you to a faceless form that will direct the question to that project officer. There is no direct way to access the email address directly, but again, if you see here, you will find the name and the surname. Generally, email addresses in ADB are first initial, last name at adb.org. So I would expect, but it is not guaranteed, that jlimjap@adb.org could be the email address. So for me, Kevin Moore, it's kappamoore@adb.org. That is my email address. So the only time you may not work for you will be perhaps in relation to if there is more than one person that has the first initial last name, because then one of them has to have a slight change. In some cases, the name of the officer may be a Chinese name or something that may not translate directly across. But more often than not, you can contact them directly in that manner. Okay.
Thank you.
Let me just run to the yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, look, I will quickly go and look at contracts awarded so you can find the information that is available there. So again, as I said, you can Google contracts awarded, or similarly, if you go to operational procurement, goods, works, and non-consulting services, you will find it at the bottom of the screen here. There are two tabs. One is current awarded contracts, which will take you to this screen where you will find the details of the firms and the values of the contracts that have been signed recently. Or alternatively, there is the archive, and the archive contains a list of Excel files of every contract over $100,000 signed on a monthly basis. So not as quick as going into open data, but you could gather these, download them, and then search. So if you pick, let's say, one in February 2020, and I quickly just show you what you would find in there. Let me know if you can see the spreadsheet. If you cannot see a spreadsheet now, otherwise I will assume it's okay. You will find the details that I had shared on the slide. So the name of the contractor, the address, the value of the contractor when it was signed. And this will be provided for all loans across all of our countries. So as you can see here, we have, let's say, in the region of somewhere in the order of about 50 contracts signed in the month of February alone, and with details of what the sector name is for those contracts. So that information is available. That information is searchable. Okay. Is that okay? You can see that screen? Okay.
Yes.
So as I mentioned, you can see the name, the address, the sector, and the value. So okay, so just that was just in terms of the contracts awarded. And if we go back to the website again, that is fundamentally it. When we talk about the signing up for alerts, ADB and Google, where you'll be asked to fill in some personal information and then tick your preferences with, as I said before, the ability to search for procurement notices for goods and works in this component of the website. Okay, that's it in terms of the business opportunities. Bernard, if there's any final questions, I can run through it. Or if you want me to spend sort of 12, 14 minutes giving a bit of an overview of the energy sector and the water sectors, I can also do that. So back to you in terms of how you want to proceed.
Yeah, just there's one brief question from a student. Let's answer it. He says, How do you get hired by the World Bank? Is the World Bank still hiring? What's the best way to get in if you're a brilliant student?
Well, if you're a brilliant student, or if you're lucky like me, there is opportunities. They are generally advertised internationally. I would imagine if you want to come to Manila now in the current COVID-19 environment, you may have an increased chance of, if you're responding to requests. But there is also a young professional program in the bank for people who are, I believe the age is 32. And there is an intake of young professionals each year. So if you Google our website and Google Young Professionals Program, you should be able to find that. Again, if you go to the website, and if you're still seeing the Excel, the screen in front of me, if you click on Work with Us, you will see here on the left-hand side, there is Young Professionals Program. There is also an internship and a scholarship program. So if you are a graduate fresh out of school, it is generally, you need at least 2 years experience before you can even apply for the Young Professionals Program. But then after that, once you have a bit of experience, you can try and join the bank. One recommendation I would give is, if you can develop a bit of private sector experience before you join the bank, that is viewed quite well. Because having that perspective when you move into the development world is a large asset. So that's.
Thank you, Kevin. I would ask, with reference to your last question, I would ask Alessandro. Alessandro, would you like Kevin to illustrate either a few words on the energy sector or on water sanitation sector? We only have time for one.
Well, I think that water could be more interesting, not because energy is not focused, but because the technology we are talking about regards especially energy efficiency. And so it's a matter that maybe has to be a bit enlightened. So water sector probably is more crucial and more much easier to explore in this occasion.
Okay, Kevin, okay. To you.
Can you see the slide with water?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is just a brief overview. I'm not an expert. I have gathered this information from colleagues, so I may not be able to answer detailed questions. But at the very least, you will find some overarching information here, and it'll also be available to you in the documentation that is provided after the presentation. So when we talk about water, of course, we tend to span across a number of different sectors within the bank. We have the urban sector, we have agricultural and rural development and natural resources, and also we have energy. Sort of branching sort of flood protection to hydropower to flood risk, rural flood risk management. And that then, because of that, when you see our projects and when you look at the country operations business plan that I spoke about earlier, you will generally see it reflected in sort of 3 areas and under 3 sort of different sort of classifications. So we have sort of water and urban services, agriculture, natural resources, and energy, as I have here. In terms of our lending history and sort of the pipeline, as you can see, the numbers are going up. The main focus is on sort of water supply, sanitation, and wastewater management. But in the last 2 years, we have started seeing a bit more interest again in hydropower, and that is accounting for a reasonable amount of the overall portfolio. And then the in-betweens being sort of water resource management, flood management, and sort of irrigation and drainage. But water supply and sanitation remains the bread and butter, the core volume of our projects and our lending within sort of the water sector. Sort of expanded trends and opportunities that we're seeing. I'm not going to go through them all in detail, but just the 4 areas that ADB sees more opportunities arising as we move forward is sort of in information technology and in cloud computing. In terms of processes, so sort of desalination plants, looking at the circular economy to ensure that we can reuse, recycle, and have sort of energy recapture from the activities we undertake. As cities grow and as the climate changes, sort of more efficient water usage, looking at irrigation and how to manage groundwater recharge, and sort of for the water distribution, how we look at sort of the NRW reductions or non-revenue water reductions, and then working with nature and sort of ecology-based management, sort of linking to the climate aspect of the work we do on sort of coastal defenses, flood detentions, etc., etc. So that is really the expanded trends and opportunities in the water sector. So Bernard, over back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. One information to the attendees in Italian. Kevin sarà disponibile per incontri one-to-one privati nella virtual room dell'Agenzia a partire da mezzogiorno e un quarto, mezzogiorno e 20. Prima di quell'ora ha già 2 appuntamenti prenotati. Abbiamo adesso inviato un link a tutta la chat, per cui chi di voi che è in ascolto volesse comunque domandare, volesse delle delucidazioni, ma volesse avere un colloquio privato con Kevin, Kevin appunto è a vostra disposizione dalle 12:15, 12:20 in avanti. Basta che clicchiate sul link che abbiamo inviato, verrete ammessi a una virtual room di attesa e quando Kevin ha finito, diciamo, di parlare con il precedente interlocutore, vi ammetterà al colloquio con lui. So this was just information regarding your one-to-one meetings, Kevin, which are scheduled to start around 12 with Mr. Ceccarelli, I guess is the first. Bene, diciamo tutte le informazioni che Kevin ha presentato saranno inviate via mail a tutti i partecipanti insieme, per chi è interessato, al link alla registrazione del webinar. Se non c'è altro io saluterei. Non so se Alessandro, Roberto vogliono aggiungere qualcosa. Se non so se mi fate
semplicemente ringraziare tutti per la partecipazione e dare appuntamento alle prossime occasioni, ai prossimi webinar che organizziamo in collaborazione con ANIMA. Grazie ancora a tutti.
Perfetto.
E soprattutto a Kevin. Grazie.
Grazie a tutti.
Ecco, grazie a tutti. E, credo sia stato molto interessante anche questo overview sui trend futuri che questa regione diciamo, considera come ciò che ci dobbiamo aspettare. Molti di questi aspetti, in particolare per l'acqua, ma sono sicuro anche per l'energia e per altri segmenti di mercato, possono essere di spunto per molte aziende che oggi hanno partecipato e per molte altre che magari invece richiederanno questa registrazione. Grazie ancora Kevin, grazie a tutti.
Perfetto, grazie a tutti. Vi ricordo il prossimo appuntamento con, sempre in collaborazione con ANIMA, il 25 giugno, dove illustreremo le opportunità di business con la Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Quindi 25 giugno, ore 10 e niente, a presto. Grazie a tutti, arrivederci.